Barthes begins chapter 5 by noting that the experience of knowingly being photographed is quite strange and causes a change within. When the lens trains itself upon his being and he poses, Barthes says he transforms himself into an image. What I take him to mean here is that he is something different than if he, unbeknownst to him, was photographically captured in his natural and authentic being. He wants a moral character to be captured, a feat that is pretty achievable when one hands himself over to a known portraiture painter, but how can this happen with a camera's mimicry and a photographer? Barthes wants his profound self to be captured by the camera, but this seems impossible when the self is a process, constantly shifting, and the photograph freezes an instant. This is an interesting distinction that Barthes is pointing out between photography and painting. Painting, though a single image, seems capable of communicating idealized versions of ourselves, whereas a photograph, unless produced by a very gifted photographer, cannot. Photography is really quite a revolutionary act. Not only does it typically not present the idealized self, but it is available in a way to the individual in a way painting never was. A painting of oneself was something typically reserved for the elites. Here in photography, we see the emergence of our identity as other. This is why we feel so strange viewing photos of ourselves on paper. Note, one has to wonder how the advent of digital photography and social media affect Barthes' general views. Do Facebook and iPhones refute him in some way, or are his points given added merit in this digital age? When we have our photograph taken, at least four things are going on. I am who I think I am. Two, I am the one I want to project onto the media. Three, I am the one the photographer conceives of. And four, I am used in service of the photographer's art. This is why it is strange to have our picture taken. It kind of feels like we are impersonating ourselves. Barthes cannot get over this idea of his subjectivity being turned into an object and likens it to a little death. When we become total image, all sorts of meanings can be attached to us, as if we lose control of ourselves. We cease to be a being. Perhaps this is why it feels sort of wrong when we take a person's picture without their permission, or why we may be hesitant to have our own photo taken. Perhaps the objectification of photography deprives us of what we ultimately view as sacred, specifically our subjectivity. Since death seems to be the essence of photography for Barthes, he can really only take pleasure in the sounds the camera makes as it takes his photos. At the time he was writing this, cameras were pretty noisy with all the gears, the winding, and the audible clicking.